Welcome everyone to another CTC software webinar. My name is Chris Bircher, Director of Technical Services here at CTC, and today we are going to talk about the new features for the BIM Suites for 2025 and kind of what we've done, what's been going on, and yeah, highlight a couple of things and show you what it's all about. Before we get started, I do want to encourage everyone to ask questions using the questions panel. I will be monitoring those throughout the presentation today, and we'll answer them in line if I can. Otherwise, I'll make sure to take time at the end to answer anything that was missed. And this will be recorded, so if you are watching this on our recording on our YouTube channel, which will be available in a couple of days. Ask questions in the comments and we monitor those as well, and we'll get back to you. So with that, let's jump into it. So as many of you know, we release our major version every year to coincide with the Autodesk updates to their Revit applications, and this year is no different. And so today, we're just going to talk about what's new and show them to you as best I can. So first, before we do that though, I'm going to do a quick little recap of some of the stuff that we did last year for our 24 release cycle. We did 4 updates last year. The last one was 24.3 for the BIM Suites. And then we'll do an overview of the 25.0. We'll demonstrate a few for you and show you where you can get some more info on the release notes and where you can get your hands on a few things in the event that you don't have them already. So for the 2024 release cycle, it was a busy year for us. We added 35 new features, 9 enhancements, and we had to address 34 bugs in the 2024 products, and that's in the BIM suites. So batch suite, manager suite, project suite, the snapshot exporter from data suite, super door, casework. It's the whole gambit. And there was a number of key things that happened last year. We started really going full bore with our cloud shared licensing, management in the portal, and started retiring our standalone licenses, which was a big change. We added, just at the tail end of 2023, the unified installers, where all of our individual products are now merged into a unified installer. Right, so one install, all the suites. And then with the 24.0 release, we added the ability to control which suites are actually being installed at that time. Instead of getting everything, you get to choose. And we offered up support for the Autodesk Construction Cloud specifically. We had BIM 360 support and some ACC, but we had to tweak a few things to make sure that we had full support. We added a new product in the model dashboard for the BIM project suite, which has been a big hit for many of us. And we had a ton of updates for View Creator and Family Processor, the snapshot, model compare, and plotter and exporter tools with performance improvements and a bunch of little things that many of you already know about. If you have questions on what some of those features were, at the end, I'm going to point out how to find out what the release notes, where the release notes are, and kind of how to navigate that page a little bit. So do not fear. For 2025, this release has been a big release. And a very challenging one at that. Autodesk decided to implement .NET 8 and support that within their product lines this year, and we got a late notice on that. So that caught us a little bit off guard. We were expecting .NET 7, got .NET 8. So we had to scramble a little bit, but we were still able to pull out 40 new features, enhancements, and bug fixes in this update alone. And so it's a big update for us. And throughout that, within these 40 items, we're addressing things in Project Cleaner and Revision Manager and Type Swapper. I'm just gonna go ahead and open all these up. Flutter Exporter, Family Processor, Project Processor, Import Link Manager, Project and Family Upgrader, Family Loader, Spreadsheet Link, View Creator, and Fire Rating. And I didn't list it, but our BIM 360/ACC connector that is on the App Store. So it's been we've done quite a bit here, and I'm gonna show you a handful of these features. We're gonna kind of handpick in a few things here. We're gonna talk about the ACC connector so that you can see some of the features that have been pointed out to us that we're missing. And then we're gonna talk about little Type Swapper, little Plotter Exporter, and a little Revision Manager. And then I will point out where to get your hands on the release notes so you know all of the features and enhancements that were added this time around. And then I will set you all on your way. So, first things first, I want to point out the enhancements made to the connector. So, for those of you that don't already know this, Plotter Exporter, Import Link Manager, and Family Loader all have the ability to work directly with your models hosted in the Autodesk Cloud framework. So if you're using the Construction Cloud or good old BIM 360, you have access to those Revit files so that you can batch export your PDFs or DWGs or NWCs, or batch load a bunch of content into projects that are hosted in the cloud, or use the Import Link Manager to reload your links, right? That's been something we've had for a little while now, but we've had to make some enhancements based off feedback from all of you. So I'm gonna point that out here quickly. Oh, hiding. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up Plotter Exporter and show you, because I'm gonna kill two birds with one stone on this one. So in the scheduler within the Plotter Exporter tool is where we have access to make that connection to the BIM 360 Autodesk Cloud, whatever you want to call it. There's all kinds of different ways to call it. If I call it BIM 360, I'm talking about everything. And I'm just gonna go ahead and load up my settings here real quick. There, this one, go. Okay, so once you've got your config in place, at this stage, you get to decide if you're gonna add just a stock Revit file from the network somewhere or from the Autodesk Cloud. And you'll be prompted to log in if you haven't already, and it's just your Autodesk credentials and whatever projects you have access to, you'll see. So as long as you've been granted access, this will work for you. Now, one of the key features that we added this time around, because it wasn't working, is there was a couple of different things. The first one is we were seeing duplicate Revit files listed in the project, and that's because of how the models were being shared amongst other firms. So for example, I publish a file and then I want to make it as a consumable item for someone else. It's not the live version of my project file. It's a published version that they get to link in. So I put it in in a shared folder for them, and then they can link it in, and then it shows up for them as consumed. And there's that whole glorious workflow for that. So when you're using that level of that style of a workflow within the cloud. Your models get placed in all these different buckets. And now when we're utilizing that, you're not going to see all of the various duplicates, or you'll see them, but they're not stacked side by side. So, and you'll be able to go ahead and visually see what it is, what folder it's coming out of. So there's no confusion here anymore. If there are the same file listed multiple times, you'll know where it's coming from, so you can grab the right one. That was the first big thing that was pointed out to us. So we addressed that. The second big thing is there was a restriction on how many Revit files were being presented. So if you've been using this for years, you've got a bunch of projects up there. And there was a limit as to how much was being loaded in. We've removed that limit, right? So now if you've got a couple hundred project files stored up there, you're going to see all those files. And you're going to see the directory structures for them, even if nothing is in there. It's just building it all out for you, so you can find everything you need to find. And then, so that's the big one specific to the connector, or the two big ones specific to the connector. And because it's utilized by multiple apps, not only does it work in the scheduled area for Plotter Exporter, it's also going to work in Family Loader when trying to batch load content into your projects. It's also going to work inside of Import Link Manager when trying to reload your links when setting up a new project in the cloud. It's the same utility that works in all three apps. So you don't have to worry about that. We took care of it all. Yeah. Now since I'm in Plotter Exporter, I'm just going to stick with Plotter Exporter. We've done a couple of enhancements here, a number of fixes. We did have a question come up, and I'm checking the list right now about it. The question was, were the scripts fixed? So you could run scripts in Plotter Exporter, and I think I know there was I think it was. I'm sorry, I can't find it in the list. I'll have to get back on that one. But I do believe it was. I know there was a scripting one that we had, and I believe it was for Plotter Exporter. So I will report back on that one. That being said, there's a couple of different things that I want to point out with Plotter Exporter. So the first feature that we added was, and this is a request that we've gotten on numerous occasions, is the ability to have better separator options in the file naming conventions. So right now, traditionally, we've had either the hyphen or the underscore or the space dash space, and that was just kind of it, right? And if you needed something more unique than that, the workaround for that was not pleasant, right? You're either adding a bunch of extra parameters in your project information to go ahead and add a hyphen or an extra underscore, and then utilizing that a number of times. And while that works, it's not ideal. So now you don't have to worry about that. We've actually built in our own extra parameters for hyphen and underscore, and for views and project information and for sheets, so that you can insert those when you need it, as many times as you need it, if there needs to be a combination of the two. If, for example, I had to do something like this. So maybe I'm doing a combined set of the project, one file, and I'm taking this out, and I want to go ahead and do number, then name, and maybe let's go status and likely there's a handful of other parameters that you'd use in this case, but just for an example, I'm going to throw these in here and then throw some custom text in at the end. Okay. Now, right now, I've got a global setting of just underscore, which applies it everywhere. Great. Maybe I want to customize this a bit. So I'm going to set it to none, take it out altogether, and utilize the hyphen and underscores as many times as I need to and place them exactly where I need them to go. So I'm going to add hyphen, I'm going to add underscore, at least, and then you can go ahead and start moving them up in the list where they need to go, and it will place them where they need to be. And you have the options to also continue to use these down here and keep going with it. Yeah, so you can use these as many times, move it all around, and enjoy the new layout. Let me get clicking the wrong button too many times. Let me add this back in. Building name, and we'll put some custom text back in, CTC. Oh, it is already there. Oops, I clicked the wrong button. And we'll push that back up. So you have options for how you want to lay it out. They'll get a nice little preview down here. Let me take that off again. So now I get underscore, hyphen, underscore. I can put another one in, take another one out. Kind of have fun with it. Works way better than adding a bunch of parameters to your file. The second thing we did is unique to IFC. We had to change up the workflow a little bit because our workflow was no longer as flexible as it needed to be. We were looking for parameter mapping files that were no longer utilized as much, right? Everything is self-contained within a JSON file now within the IFC export settings or stored within a project. So now we've provided options for utilizing that. So we've updated the list of the configuration. So now it's pulling live from the Revit project. So whatever's listed in your project is what you're going to see. So if you're purging those out and cleaning them up to avoid any sort of confusion, you'll want to make sure that the right ones are listed. If they're not, it can be exported from a project and then loaded up here. So and that way you can make sure that the appropriate ones are being used across the board. And oh, that's right, I didn't put it there. I put it here. There we go. So, oh my God. All right, now I don't remember where I placed my IFC file. That's okay. But it was just honestly, it was just an export directly of this without any additional changes. So, but if you're familiar with the IFC windows now and the setup for it, there's a lot more control baked into there. So and it's a lot harder to kind of duplicate again on the next project. So they gave you the ability to export them. And then you can specify it and load them back in. Makes it a lot easier, and you don't have to worry about having another parameter mapping file to load in after the fact. It's a lot better that way, honestly. So the final piece that I want to point out is it's again with the scheduling, but it's the usability of config files amongst your team. So now that we have access to projects in the Autodesk cloud space, that opens the door for sharing additional files via the desktop connector, for example. And with the cloud being able to support more file types lot more firms are going that route and moving more and more of their project information and project data to that location, and or to a or something similar like a SharePoint. Maybe they're sharing files on Dropbox even, right? So we've been asked to accommodate some of those newer workflows. And one of those requests was to get Plotter Exporter, a scheduled task in Plotter Exporter, to read configuration files that are stored in a place like a project folder in the desktop connector, or in SharePoint or Dropbox. And while that would work, that has always worked for a particular account or a particular person, it didn't always work for anyone trying to access that file. Today it will. With 25.0, you will be able to create a configuration like this, save it out to your desktop connector, and you can either stick it into a specific project or create a new project, which you will likely do, that has a bunch of the template-y type things in it. Maybe your starter project, maybe it's got some content in it. Maybe it's got some Excel files in it. Maybe it's got your Plotter Exporter settings in it. I've just lumped mine into a particular project here. And yes, I do. Now, so that works for me because I saved it, right? But that will also now work for any other user that has access to that project and via desktop connector is also syncing those projects to their computer. They will be able to browse to that same location or at least schedule a job using that particular config file. And even though I saved it there, it's going to work for anyone. It's not holding on to my username anymore. So you won't have to, you can start to share some of this stuff amongst your colleagues now. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. How about we talk Revision Manager? Let's do that one. So Revision Manager is another one of the products that got a number of updates this time around. Revision Manager is in the BIM Project Suite, and there's a couple of different things that were added that were requested by customers, and I think one of them you might like. So if you're using Revision Manager, the whole point is to be able to quickly come through this list and apply a particular revision number to a sheet without actually having to go to that sheet, go into the properties and check the box there, close out and do the next thing over. You come here and you check the box, it's nice and easy, right? But it was still kind of a one at a time thing. Not anymore. If there are revisions that need to be added throughout this, you can just highlight those cells in this window by holding down Control and then come up here and hit Check Selected. By doing so, you are now selecting as many sheets and as many revisions as you want to place on those sheets all in one shot. You no longer have to go, you don't have to click them one at a time anymore, or do it the old school way and directly within the Revit environment. So that one's been asked for quite a bit, and we got it in there now, which is going to make a lot of people happy, hopefully. The next one I want to point out, which is another requested feature, is creating print sets based on selections from Revision Manager. Now, what you do, and I believe this is pretty straightforward, but to make your first pick to get this to work. So say I want to do just a small little internal check set for myself, right? I want my title sheet, and then you pick by holding down Control the other sheets that you want to include. So if I want my enlarged plans here and maybe I want my schedules and details. And let's go find my, that's good. We'll call it good. These are the sheets that I want to include in my own little print set. So then I can hit create print set down here on the left. We're going to get a little window that pops up for you to give it a name. And I'm going to call it that. Hit OK. It creates it. Excellent. Now I'm going to just hit OK. I'm going to close this out, because I'm going to go into the Revit print window, and now it's here. So it actually built, not only does it give me a little thing inside of Revision Manager, but it actually built it as a print set here in Revit. And here's all the sheets that I had selected during that time when I built that. So now I can just turn around and it's already, I can just hit print. It's already there, set up. I may have to modify my my settings in here, which is fine. But at least I don't have to worry about going to select those items. It's already done. Part 2 to that feature is additional capabilities within Revision Manager itself. Not only do I have the ability to quickly build out that print set, but I can also filter by that print set, which will then give me that list of sheets and that list of sheets only, so that I can turn around and do additional work on those if necessary. And if you do a few print sets, they'll show up here. It's saved to the project, and so if I go to a different project that has a different set of sheets that had a print set built on, it's going to show those as well. So yeah, so that's all there is on that one. Ooh, hold on. We want to be able to select a revision sequence, and all sheets with that revision get added to the print set. I see what you're saying. That would be cool. I like it. So I think we'll have to get that one added. I mean, unfortunately at the moment you'd have to do that, you know, let me go back to my all. If that was the case, say I want sequence 4, I'd have to do that one on my own and just hold down control and grab those this way. So I get what you're saying, and that would be a really sweet little feature to add. You can press and drag through these cells to make it a little easier, especially if you've got a handful of them in a row like I'm doing right now. But yeah, no, that would be pretty awesome. So I'm gonna write that down. We'll get that one added. Thank you for the feature request. Good idea. All right, let's move on to the last tool that I wanted to talk about today, which is Type Swapper. Right here. So there was a couple of things that we added to Type Swapper. The first one being persistent settings. We've had a number of requests for this recently, in that, you know, customers have Type Swapper open and they're preparing a swap, and they're making changes, they're checking boxes, they're setting up what they want elements to swap to, and then they get sidetracked and close the app or have to do something else, or they notice that something just needs to flat out be deleted. So they do that. And during that process, whether it's they closed it or they did a different task, other settings that were defined get lost. So we stop that. And now if you make changes and then don't do anything, or have to leave and close out, for example, like this, or find something that needs to be deleted, that's okay. It's going to hold on to your settings. So if I switch it to this, let's say, and then delete something, that should not care, right? It's gonna still be there. It's still mapped. I didn't swap anything because I didn't tell it to actually swap anything, but it's still there. If I close the app, reopen the app, that's still gonna hold on to it, that setting, which is what we were looking for. And the whole point is just to make sure that you don't have to keep doing the same thing every single time, even if you didn't get a chance to finish it before, right? And that holds true on all of the tabs. Across the board, if you make if you check a box for it to be an approved item, or you specify another text style or dimension style or line type to swap with, but you don't actually take action on that, it's gonna hold, it's gonna remember for the next time, for when you do actually wanna make that call. Now, another item that was added is the ability to swap MEP system types. That has been something that has been asked for a while from a lot of our MEP groups, and we were able to get that added with 25.0. Now, I'm in my ARC model, so which isn't the greatest example. So let me just switch over here real quick. And I've got it open here somewhere. There we go. And it's, I mean, just like working with any other feature there, if there's a system type present, it's going to tell you how many elements are on that system type, and then you have the option to swap it to something else. So if for whatever reason your system type list is not as cut and dry as mine is, and you've got duplicates in there, or you've got stuff that maybe was not originally intended to be on a particular system, but now it needs to be, it'll work. You'll be able to swap it out and move on and get rid of the type that is no longer being used. We had a question, comment come in that says type swapper is awesome when it doesn't give you errors. Now, part of the reason why type swapper was giving errors, frankly, is because it was getting hung up on trying to swap elements that were pinned or elements that are in a group. That has been the biggest crux of any swapping ability. That's type swapper and project processor. With type swapper, we were able to provide an option now to give it a shot, right? Do I want to attempt to unpin an element so that it can be swapped and then repin it, or attempt to edit the group and regroup it, or right? So we're putting that in there as a way to try to get rid of more of those errors, because it was happening. I'll be upfront. Type swapper would fail if elements that were in your swapping selection were in a group or were pinned. Like, couldn't handle that. Or it would just take forever and you wouldn't know why it was taking forever, when it really shouldn't take forever. So if you know or think that an element that you're trying to swap is pinned or in a group, come into options, check those boxes, hit OK, run it again, and you should have a little bit better luck on that one. That was a big one, and has been requested quite a bit by quite a few people in different groups. So that was a big one we wanted to get added. And so I'm glad you brought that comment up. I appreciate that. It was a good segue. Last but not least, we added a pending checkbox. The pending, these are now just little filters to filter by approved and or pending. Now, approved is this checkbox here, and this is just to be a visual indicator to let you know that this is what my, in this case, my system types need to be. These are the good ones, right? Anytime you find something that's not that, we should be swapping it to this. Maybe it's better on the dimension style front. This is the one that I want. This is the one that I want. Anything else needs to get swapped to those two things. So I'm going to go back to my architectural file again real quick because it's a better example with Type Swapper because it actually has stuff listed. However, so these checkboxes will help you switch. Let me do this one to that. So a pending item, so approved is if the box is checked. Pending is stuff that hasn't been told what to do yet. So it's basically everything else, right? So whether there's a change or not, or a swap in there, it's kind of like everything else, right? A decision hasn't been made yet. So the whole point is to give you allow you to filter down the list a little bit, especially for utilizing the approved checkboxes and settings a little bit. Yeah, and then all that stuff can be saved. So if you do have things that are set to be approved or a swap to setting, all that stuff can be saved, and it's always been able to be saved. So, and yes, hopefully this will resolve some of that freezing on models with the ability to do the unpin and edit group for the duplicates. I really hope so too. It's been working well for us, but you guys always have much more intricate models than we do. So I'm hoping that it works as well for you as it did for us. Now, that covers everything I wanted to highlight today. The last piece I want to point out is on how to get a hold of the rest of the release notes. So come on, there we go. So on our website, we have a release notes page. So you can directly type this in if you'd like, or I'll show you how to get there the easy way. On our website, if you go to our products page or products drop down here and click on one of the suites that you're interested in, we have a release notes button right there in the middle. You click on that, it'll bring you to the complete release notes for that particular suite that you chose, and it's going to list everything for the current version and all of the prior versions that we have made available. So as you can see, there's more shown here than I discussed today. So if there's anything you are curious about, did it get fixed? Was it done? Check the release notes, reach out to us. Well, you can always ask. Many of you did submit feature requests or bug notices. You should be getting an email about that, or you should have gotten an email on that if you did submit something to us, to CTC directly. And if you went through one of our partners in ATG or SolidCAD or CAD Group, they will in turn hopefully reach out to you and let you know as well. We told them, they're aware that things were addressed. And so yeah, if you did submit something, you should be getting notified here momentarily, hopefully. So that takes care of it. That's everything I wanted to show you guys today. Hopefully we picked up on a few things that you guys have been wanting and interested in. And we're always looking forward to more feedback. So if you, like today, that was a great little bit of feedback. I appreciate that. And we'll get that added to the product as soon as we possibly can. So if you've got additional feedback, please, we eat that stuff up. We love it. That's why our tools are the way our tools are. So submit it. You can send it to feedback@ctcsoftware.com. You can send it to info@ctcsoftware.com. You can go to our website and create a support case and just send it to those guys as well. They're ultimately, at the end of the day, they all come back to us and we work to get them into the products as soon as we can. So thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you at the next webinar.